Do it? Dan, I'm not a Republic serial villain. Do you seriously think I'd explain my master stroke if there remained the slightest chance of you affecting its outcome? I did it 35 minutes ago. While listening to Cosmic Chronicles, the podcast where we are still following two first-time readers, Sheta and Justin, and we chronicle their journey through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmic series. On today's episode, we'll be chronicling Mistborn, The Well of Ascension, chapters 23 through 27. And now let's throw it over to the host of Cosmic Chronicles. This is Joe!
Why, thank you, Joe. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Cosmic Chronicles. I am still Joe, your host, and once again, I'm joined by Sheta and the other one. How are you two doing today?
I don't
I'm
matter.
good.
I'm just the other one.
I do matter. I'm Sheta.
Pay me
Matter
no
to
mind,
Justin.
viewers.
What's
No,
that?
no. Pay me no mind, viewers. I'm just here.
Is that your Eeyore voice?
Nothing in life matters. We're all gonna rot. Our stuffing will rot us from the inside eventually anyways, especially since we're left out in the woods.
He had a house.
If you can call that a house. Doesn't
He
protect me
had the
from the
worst
rain.
house.
Inflation in the 100-acre woods is at 50-year highs. I'll never be a true homeowner.
This is the cutest thing. So sad.
All right, let's move on from that and talk about shit no one cares about.
Unlike that, which everyone cared deeply for.
I cared. Igor's the best.
Well, let's go into some random shit. So, I'll ask you, what is your favorite vampire movie? Go.
Favorite vampire movie?
I'm not prepared. Just kidding. I'd probably pick Interview with a Vampire.
The original.
Nope, the one with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise.
So the original.
Yes, not the one from the 30s.
There's not one from
There
the
was
30s.
no. It was based on a book.
Based on a book from what, the 70s, 80s?
Dunno. And Kristen Dunst. That's a little doll girl.
Man, I'm gonna have to be the most basic bitch ever and just say Blade. I really can't think of anyone's.
Yes, that's a basic bitch for sure.
That is. I feel like I'm forgetting one, but off the top of my head, that's what comes in. I never saw Morbius, sadly, so I can't answer that.
I don't think Morbius would have been the choice you'd go with.
Hey, they released that into theaters twice. It must have been pretty good.
Wait, twice?
Yeah, after it became
Yeah.
a meme, they released it again, and it didn't do very well.
I don't know why they did that.
Because they're stupid. The same reason they made it in the first place.
They do that and then everyone stops talking about it.
Yeah, because it's not
sad.
funny anymore. That was such a bad idea.
Well,
yeah, it's
the
like
reason why they made it in the first place was to that way we have all these Spider-Man characters. Let's just start making movies with them, so that way these characters can't be used in the MCU. So all of a sudden
because everyone's clamoring for some Morbius.
Yeah.
I would have loved Morbius in the movie where he fought Spider-Man.
Yeah, but that would be a Sony movie, not an MCU one alone.
But yeah, that's the thing is Sony used it. Like if you could have had, but we are thinking nowadays MCU. We're not thinking 5 years ago MCU. God,
And
that's
yours,
sad.
since you asked, Joe, you can't get out of this.
I was probably going to go with Blade as well, but also a close one would probably be Lost Boys.
Oh yeah, Lost Boys.
My honorable mention is Dracula Dead and Loving. I just loved that movie when I was a kid. Even though it was not a little kid movie.
Oh no, From Dusk Till Dawn is my favorite. That's what it is.
Oh shit, you're right.
Yep, that's my favorite vampire movie. I totally forgot about it. Or the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie.
You hate that movie.
I do, but it sure did spawn a great show.
All right, now one more question that will be completely different from the one we just went with. What's your favorite Marvel or DC comic book couples?
The DC comic book couple. What the fuck?
Well,
Marvel
I'm
and
trying to get questions that I thought of, but it's like I can't really think of like 2 or 3 questions that can group together. So I'll just start throwing these together. I think.
Okay, well, it's going to be pretty basic. For DC, I'm going to go Superman and Lois Lane. For Marvel, I'm going to go for Mr. and Mrs. Fantastic. Or Mr. and Mrs. Richards, I mean.
Not Aquaman and Mara.
No. Superman and Lois Lane is the most iconic one. That's the one that when they fuck with it, I'm the most pissed. I can survive Aquaman and Mara.
Like New 52 fucked with it.
Yep, but I can survive it.
I meant Superman Lois.
Oh, yes, exactly.
I like Barry and Iris from for DC, and Marvel probably Peter Parker and Mary Jane.
You poor child.
Yeah, I know.
Well, mine would probably be the most basic ones. I would be Superman Lois and Spider-Man Mary Jane. But, luckily, the Spider-Man comic, it ended at the end of Nick Spencer's Spider-Man run with Peter Parker and Mary Jane being together as a couple and being stronger than ever. And nobody has ever written a Spider-Man comic since that ended. Nobody has written anything in the last 3
you
years.
Poor children.
Spider-Man
This world
ended.
is...
Nobody
Is it a
named...
happily ever after?
You're both
Nobody...
too innocent for this world.
Nobody named Zeb Wells has written Amazing Spider-Man. That has never happened. Spider-Man did not get cucked by Mary Jane and then forced to pay her new boyfriend/husband money and made to feel by loser by characters like Captain America because his girlfriend cheated on him. That never happened.
I'm still pretty convinced that Paul is Mephisto. I still believe that as my personal theory. It's gotta be. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, no, Joe is in denial. It's very sad.
Yes, he lost his mind that day. He's never been the same since.
Yeah.
But the problem, if he's Mephisto, is now you have Mary Jane has been having sex with Mephisto.
Yeah, but she was brainwashed.
That's still not a good thing.
I didn't say it was a good thing. I think by the continuity I see, that's the only thing that makes sense to me. Any other explanation does not make sense to me.
I think the explanation that Zeb Wells wants you to get is Spider-Man's a loser and you should be embarrassed for ever reading a Spider-Man comic. Which I am.
That seems like the modern style of writing.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
I am embarrassed to ever have been a fan of Spider-Man because of Zeb
Don't
Wells.
say that, Joe. Stand by him.
You don't let Zeb Wells win. He doesn't deserve that power.
He doesn't. Spider-Man is a great character.
The one good thing about Zeb Wells is he has saved me a lot of money because I no longer have to buy American comics ever again.
It's very sad. There's too many stories like Joe's story here.
Yes. Tell us your story of how the industry has been saving you money in the comments below.
Or tell us why we're wrong and that American comics are flourishing and that they are great.
Yeah, maybe.
No, we don't allow liars in the comments.
Oh, sad.
And I'm still reading them, so.
My main issue with American comics is the how they publish them now is how each time you get a new writer, it's like a hard reset. So it's like, I'll read 12 issues of one writer, then once that's done, it's like those never existed because a new writer will just ignore all that. So it just feels like there's no point in reading them.
Mine is that they're just shitty.
They are quite shitty.
All right. Well, let's be done with this talk and let's get back into Mistborn. By starting off with a recap of last week's episode, which this time it's Justin's turn.
Vin talked to the mystery guy Zane, who we found out was insane earlier in Zane and the Membrane. God tells him to kill everybody. He's working with Straff. He's Straff's secret son. Yep. Vin and Orseer become closer. She thinks a little more about him, empathizes with him more. He opens up a bit. Clubs is theoretically ruled out as a suspect because Vin sees him doing Alamancy. And that's all I got. Probably something else.
I think it was Ham that got ruled out.
Oh, yeah, Ham. What did I say?
Clubs.
Oh, no. I'd be shocked if Clubs started. Okay, yeah, no, Ham.
Well, Club says allomancy.
That's allomancy.
What's his power again?
He's a smoker.
Yeah. That was it.
You missed new best girl joins the squad.
Oh, yeah. And then a little jailbait girl comes in, and Breeze has kind of feelings for her a little bit.
She's not jailbait. She's 18.
Yes, as
I heard 12 from
You're
Vin.
right. And Vin has allomancy, so you have to believe her. Vin is a Mistborn.
Mistborn does not let you be able to tell people's age.
Yes, but she could sense her age with Tin.
No. I'm not even abiding by that. There's just a large age difference between them. That was all it was.
Yeah. All right. So now we'll move on to this week's chapters, where we went through chapters 23 through 27. And as per usual, I'll ask you, how did you two think of these chapters this week? Did you like them? Did you dislike them?
I like these ones. I always like getting to see characters like Straff talk at length, so I enjoyed that quite a bit.
More Straff, so boo. He's terrible.
He's definitely terrible. That is certainly for sure.
The important thing is, do you hate him, the way you're supposed to hate him? Or is it a case where you're just like, I just do not want to read this character anymore. I just don't want him on the page.
No, he's entertaining at least. So yeah. It's like it's the love to hate him. Yeah, I rarely hate characters. It'd have to be pretty bad for me to actually hate them.
We covered that last week, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very rare for me to just straight up hate a character and not want to read them. I know the first time I went through Wheel of Time, there was one character like that. I think if I go through it again, I try to keep an open mind. But the first time it'd be every single time I get to a chapter, if I see it's their name, I would just groan.
Didn't you ask us that as a question once? What fictional characters?
So we will start off with chapter 22, or 22, if you prefer to say it that way.
I think most people do.
Oh, do you know how to count? 2.
That's a dress. Okay, well, all right, so we'll start with the epigraph. He could trade words with the finest of philosophers, and had an impressive memory, nearly as good, even, as my own. Yet, he was not argumentative. Oh, wait, am I reading? Oh, wait, that was a chapter from last week's.
I was like, did you just spoil the last chapter?
So, nope, we will go chapter 23. The terrorists rejected him, but he came to lead them. All right, so chapter begins, and the crew is gathered together, and Sazed is telling them the news about the Koloss army. Elend asks how Jastes is controlling them, but Sazed doesn't know. Ham adds that in the south, a Koloss army, or Koloss camp, went crazy and attacked everything less than a day after the Lord Ruler's death. Breeze adds that the same happened near Set's home. Set had tried to recruit the Koloss at first, and they followed him for a time, but then something set them off. Set had to kill all the Koloss, and he lost 2,000 men in order to take out 500 Koloss. Sazed lets them know that the army is about a week away, but it looks like they have been camped there for a time. Jastes probably didn't anticipate the other two armies, and while the Koloss could take out one of them, they'd likely be defeated if the two armies teamed up to take them out. And so Doxson hopes that the Koloss threat may make Straff more willing to deal with Elend. All right, and then Sazed then brings up how the mists have been coming out during the day. He adds that the mists have been killing people, which some of the crew have trouble believing. Ham says people have gone out of the mist for centuries, and it hasn't been killing people. But Sazed hypothesizes that it might be because they killed the Lord Ruler. Sazed also calls Breeze Lord Ladrian a few times, and Breeze asks him to stop. And the group is interrupted when Allrianne shows up asking what is going on. She had heard voices and came to see. Elend finds this suspicious because she wouldn't have heard them from the guest quarters, and she is also wearing a gown while her hair is unkempt. Breeze asks Allrianne not to disturb the king, and she leaves. The rest of the crew, besides Elend, Sazed, and Vin, leave the room. And Vin says that she doesn't trust Allrianne. They figure that she must have been eavesdropping for at least half an hour. And Vin is impressed that Elend had noticed Allrianne's hair being unkempt, and figures that either he is getting better, or Allrianne simply isn't very good at spying.
When Elend was finally starting to think like that, even though he kind of half waves it off, like, oh, I was finally starting to think maybe there's hope for this guy noticing anything ever.
Yeah.
And then Vin leaves with Orseer, and Elend wonders why she brought him along since she couldn't stand, Orseer a few weeks ago. Elend wonders why she was so interested in what Sazed was talking about the mists, and he could also tell that there was something that she wasn't telling him. He tries to stop himself from being paranoid about Vin, but every time he was beginning to figure out, he realized how little he actually understood her. Then we cut over to Sazed, who's going up into the room that he will be staying in, and he finds Tindwyl waiting for him inside. After Sazed compliments her on helping Elend, Tindwyl asks Sazed why he is here instead of doing his job teaching people. He says he has greater work to do here. Tindwyl says there is no greater work. It is their life's duty to be teaching people.
She's so interesting to me because every time you see her talk to a new character, she's like a different character completely because she shows a different part of herself. Like she adapts how she talks based on, who she's talking to and what she thinks they need to hear. She seems like she'd be have a really like strange, mysterious soundtrack to her in a TV show or something, if anyone knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, she does really become what people need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Sazed tells her that there is something with the mists. Tindwyl says that he had spent 10 years working to overthrow the final empire, and now he cannot content himself with ordinary work. He has invented some grand threat to the land because he's afraid of being irrelevant. And Tindwyl says that she doesn't understand Sazed. He is the soul of what it means to be terrorist, but he consistently defies their leaders. He should be a leader among their people. Everyone looks up to him. Everyone wants to look up to him, but they can't. Tindwyl takes Sazed's hand, but then shakes her head and leaves. And that's the chapter. Anything else either of you want to go over with this chapter?
No, just straightforward.
Yeah. I feel like that's all these are going to be.
Still looking for clues on who's the traitor, but I'm not seeing as many as I saw before. I'm sure they're in there, but I'm not seeing them yet.
It's just going to be a big swerve and Vin is the Kandra.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's one of those would just put down the book moments. No, thank you. That's too stupid.
What Vin needs to do is she needs to tie down everybody, take some of their blood, and then use that to test to see which one of them has been taken over.
I don't know. Does that work?
Yep.
I think you might be mixing up doppelganger franchise things. Oh, actually,
okay.
No. I'm super annoyed. I forgot. Why are they still discussing all this top secret stuff with the whole gang around? That's driving me crazy.
Well, Elend doesn't believe that any of them are the Kandra.
Yeah, well, Elend is stupid.
Yeah, don't forget, he had told Vin that, I talked to the guys, they all seem normal, so he's going with that.
Even Vin, if I were her, I'd be taking this all a lot more seriously. But I think a part of her doesn't want to believe, but yeah.
We know that she doesn't want to, but even still, it's quite reckless. I bet Kelsier would never let this happen.
The other problem, though, is that you can't just suddenly stop the government because of it.
Yeah, I can. I'd say, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I think want to use a Kandra so you're not involved in meetings anymore. We can't share all our private information.
Yeah, the inner circle especially.
The inner circle only, yeah. It's just, they're casually discussing things that they don't all need to be there for. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Elend likes getting their opinion on stuff, but I would not feel comfortable with that.
At this point, he's kind of just not even asking for their opinion that much. He's just kind of telling him. So,
But I mean, they let the girl come in and spy on them, so they're not that good at the whole security thing.
Yeah.
So do you think she was spying, or was she just walking down like
100%. They pointed out way too many things about how she was, oh, I just woke up, but she's all dressed and everything. No, I totally believe it.
I believe it too. I don't know what her intentions are, but yeah.
I don't think she's a villain, personally. But I think she's cleverer than she puts on. I think that's kind of the idea.
Yeah. If she's a noblewoman too, I won't trust any little innocent and harmless noblewoman ever since that one girl ended up being a huge spy and blackmailing them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, from the first book. I don't trust them. They're all two-faced, shady people.
All right. Well, we'll move on to chapter 24. He commanded kings, and though he sought no empire, He became greater than all who had come before. Vin is on the rooftop of Keep Venture, thinking about what Sazed had said. She wonders if the deaths from the mists are related to the mist spirit, but Sazed never mentioned seeing a figure in the mist. Vin burns bronze and can sense the mist spirit, but she also senses the strange thumping in the distance. She is reminded of a part of Elendi's logbook where he mentions hearing thumping sound from the mountains. Vin had asked other seekers to burn bronze, but none of them hear this thumping. And then we cut over to Zane, and Zane is on the rooftop of Cape Hastings, hoping to see Vin, but he doesn't. He knows that he will eventually be ordered to kill her, but he had a growing reluctance to consider the act, and he had a worry that he couldn't beat her. He also thinks that she might be the thing that can finally let him resist and convince him to just leave. He's had enough waiting, and he goes to find her. He's tried to sneak up on her on Keep Venture, but she somehow senses him when she shouldn't be able to. Vin tells Zane that she isn't in the mood to spar. Zane tells Vin that Elend is using her, but she denies this. He asks if she ever wanted power when she was younger, and she says of course she did. Zane asks what child Vin would say if she saw her now with this power, but being bent and bowed by another's will. Vin answers that she's a different person now. When he's talking, he turns around, he has his back towards Vin. She drops a coin, and he immediately glances at her, and she thinks that he doesn't trust her. And then Zane asks what Vin would do if there are no repercussions for her actions. Vin thinks, go north and find what is causing the thumping. But instead, she just says, I don't know. Zane begins to leave, but Vin feels concerned. He'd come to her to talk, and she would never turn him to her side if she didn't talk to him. So then she opens up, and she says that if there were no repercussions, then she'd go kill Straff and Set and make certain nobody would ever threaten Elend. And Zane asks her why she doesn't just do that. He can see the confusion in her eyes. Her instinct to kill the men are right, but she holds back because of Elend. Zane tells her that she is Elend's toy, but he is also a toy like her, and neither of them can break free. Not alone. As Zane leaves...
Zane does so much projecting. I can't believe how many assumptions she makes about Vin. Some of them a little close to right, some of them wrong, but he's just projecting so hard onto her, his own thoughts and feelings about stuff. It really makes him seem like a real character, a real person.
Poor Zane.
And as Zane leaves, he says that Mistborn stops seeing the value of coins. It's easy to lose value of something when you use it so often that it just becomes a tool. And Vin feels like she is too desperate for him to stay, so she lets him go. And that's the end of that chapter. All right. Anything else from this chapter you want to go over?
No.
Yeah, it's all pretty straightforward. I love seeing more Zane.
Are you still on the Zane Vin ship?
Of course. I hope they, if not have a romantic relationship, then have a friendship one. Maybe a one-sided romantic one would be fine too.
No, I always hate the one-sided relationship things in stories.
But they're inevitable. Not everyone can date everybody.
Yeah, but then the one person should let it go and move on.
Yeah, because that's how it works in real life.
Zane is sad because he's gonna end up putting all his dreams and cares into Vin, but Vin is gonna be, half occupied with Elend at least, and everything else that she cares about. So that's how those things happen. He has nothing else going on for him. Give up and what? Just go back to Straff? That's too sad.
Yeah, he always has his father, Sheta.
Well, let's go on to chapter 25. He fathered no children, yet all the land became his progeny. All right. So Vin is sleeping, and then she wakes up when Tindwyl comes into her room, and Vin immediately gets ready to attack. But then she notices that's Tindwyl. Tindwyl says that they are going shopping. Since Vin is going to meet with Straff Venture, she's going to need a dress. Vin hesitates, but Tindwyl says to at least come and browse in order to take her mind off of things. After Vin washes, she is making her way out to meet Tindwyl, and is surprised to also find Allrianne and Spook there. Tindwyl explains that Allrianne was trained as a courtly noblewoman and will know the current fashions, and Spook is there as a packman. As they are walking to the carriage, Vin tells Spook to remember that they are at war and to keep his tin burning. She senses him burning tin and removes him from the list of possible Kandra.
See, my thing is, why haven't they done all this already? Before, why didn't she go out and do all this before they allowed people in all these secret meetings? Why is she doing this so casually?
Mm-hmm. You could easily go and take care of this all in one day if you were that very worried, Like, since she also
That's
has
why I think.
heightened
Mhm.
senses, she could easily figure that out. It's very,
That's-
very important if you have a spy like that. Like, it was very
I
urgent
think
when we
so.
found it out. Mm-hmm.
I think
That's
it's
why
a
anything
two-
that happens to them, I feel like they deserve it.
Well,
Mm.
I think that is there's a two-part reasoning for that. First is like what you had said before, is that Vin doesn't really want to know if someone's the spy, so she's trying to purposely put it off because of her own worries. The second thing is she's trying to do it more subtly because you don't want to warn the con.
You could do
Like,
it subtly. Just go around
Also,
and do this exactly, but do
Pam
it
already
before
knew.
you let everyone in.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if it was a case where she's like going up to Spook, says this, and somehow Ham overhears it, and Ham's actually Condra, they'll be like, "Oh shit,
Well, that
she's
would
onto
be
us."
stupid. She shouldn't do it that way. I'm just saying, when the other shoe drops, I'm not going to be feeling sorry for him.
Yeah, I think the reason of like when she's like, I'm going to choose to trust. I'm not going to be like Kelsier, or where I didn't trust Elend, or I
That
think he's a
sounds like
conduit.
how
Like I
you
think,
learned the lesson Kelsier learned.
yeah, I think it's fine. I think that it's. Yeah, I disagree with that method in reasoning. So, but
All right, so now, as they are traveling, Allrianne asks if the things they say about Vin are true, if she really killed the Lord Ruler, and if she is rickety and dangerous. But Allrianne notes that Vin is going shopping with them, so she can't be dangerous. And Allrianne asks Vin if she grew up far from court, and Vin answers that she's a Ska. And Allrianne responds, "Oh, you poor thing." Allrianne says that Breezy is Ska too, or half Ska, and that it's a good thing he didn't tell her father, because her father was never really nice.
Not nice to. I liked how she worded it. She's
yeah,
either as innocent as she comes off, or she's a very, very, very good at hiding it.
yeah, that's very childish. Like, oh, he wasn't nice. Like, oh, did he kill him and like rape him?
Well, I just mean a simple way of explaining it,
Yeah,
She
for
probably
sure.
understands that they're killed, but it's a very simple way of
It's childish, yeah, to
describing what
think
it
of it like.
was.
Well, I just love her thing where Vin's like, "No, I'm Ska." "Oh, you poor thing."
Yeah, at first I thought that was, oh, you poor thing, like you're so poor. After she talked more, I was like, oh, yeah, you poor thing, as in, I know how you're treated. You're treated horribly. That's a horrible life. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, she seems like interesting because she's kind of like a real person. Like I don't know, she acts different.
All right, so then they arrive at a shop, and Allrianne and Spook go inside. And pretty much during this thing, kind of Allrianne has Spook kind of wrapped around her finger, and I think Vin's thinking that, yeah, Spook will do anything for a woman.
Oh, no. He says anything for a woman with a nice personality and breasts, and the first one isn't necessary. Something
She
along
said
those
clean,
lines.
Yeah, it was.
clean and boobs.
Oh, with clean and breasts. Yep, that was it. And the first one isn't necessary. I finally like spooks.
You're like, I can relate to that, sir.
And but Allrianne then is also taking advantage of that.
Well, yeah, of course.
All right.
I would too.
Yeah, so Tindwyl's talking to Vin, and Tindwyl notes that Allrianne is eager and probably hasn't had an opportunity to shop in weeks. But Vin scoffs at this, and Tindwyl responds by saying that Allrianne clearly enjoys this, and that Vin could understand having something she loved taken from her. Tindwyl says not to judge Allrianne's worth based on frivolities. By doing that, then Vin is doing the same as those that judge her based on her simple clothing. Tindwyl says that she had heard that did enjoy noble society. She had used to enjoy wearing dresses, but stopped a few months after the collapse. Vin confirms this and saying that she did enjoy dressing like that, and that was the problem. It was never her, it was only an act. She needs to be something harder. Tindwyl asks why Vin hasn't married Elend, and Vin says that's none of Tindwyl's business. But Tindwyl says that she has taken it upon herself to make Elend a better king. He's not going to realize his potential until he's more certain about certain things in his life, Vin in particular. And Vin thinks back to the night Elend proposed. That was also the night that she stopped wearing dresses. She tells Tindwyl that Elend shouldn't have proposed. She's wrong for him. He needs a woman who can be queen, someone like Allrianne. Tindwyl says that Elend fell in love with Vin, but Vin says that he fell in love with her when she was pretending to be a noblewoman. And then Tindwyl points out that Elend hasn't abandoned her since he learned who she really is. She points out that people are often more complex than they first appear. Why does Vin only focus on one side of herself while Elend sees more? All right, so then Vin agrees to go try on a dress, and while she's putting it on, she thinks about how she had never actually danced with Elend before. Vin comes out, and after Tindwyl compliments Vin, Vin asks why Tindwyl is being so nice to her. And Tindwyl answers that she's harsh to Elend because he grew up pampered and needs a little harsh truth. She feels like Vin has had quite enough of that in her life. The dressmaker brings out some swatches, and Vin tells him that she wants black, but Tindwyl shoots this down and says no more black. Then Vin decides to go with the royal blue. And since Vin's going to need it the next night when they go see Straff, the dressmaker will alter one of the stock dresses. And Tindwyl gives him some instructions, which will wind up making the dress easier to fight in. And then that's when the man reckons who Vin is. And then Spook notices that they have drawn a crowd outside. He asks why she gets to be so popular. He helped too. He even got his nickname from Kelsier himself, but nobody cares about poor little Spook. And so then Vin is about to escape through the back of the shop, but Tindwyl stops her and tells her to go to the people and give them hope. Vin agrees to it, and Allrianne says that she'll go too and grabs Vin by the arm as they walk outside. When they're outside and they meet with the crowd, a man asks Vin what will become of them, and Vin says that everything will be all right. The armies are only trying to intimidate them, but they can outlast this siege. When Vin says that Elend will meet with Straff tomorrow, the crowd breaks out in a worry, with a lot of them shouting that he's going to surrender and give the city over to Straff. And then Vin pushes on people with steel, literally pushing them, and she also sues them. And she says that Elend is a good man. He has sacrificed so much for their freedom. She and Elend will protect them.
I like when she's saying that. She's like, what am I saying? Like, just saying, like, all heroically, you're all going to be fine. We're all going to be fine. I'll protect each and every one of you, like a superhero. Like,
Yeah, but even though she knows it's bullshit, that's what they're there to hear. That's what they want to hear, or what they want to believe, I should say.
Yeah, I was
even
very
the people who freak out and
her.
are like, even the people who freak out, they're just scared. They just want to something to delude themselves into thinking somebody is caring about them up there or can do anything for them.
And then Vin goes back inside, and she's talking to Tindwyl and says that she just lied to everyone. And Tindwyl says that whether what Vin said is true or not has yet to be proven. But Vin says that they can't beat 3 armies. So then Tindwyl just gets annoyed and just tells her to run away then. Make a decision. Either give up on the city or believe in it. And then warning drums begin to beat atop the city wall. Then we cut to Elend, who's on top of the city wall, and he's watching as Straff's army begins an attack. Straff is sending coin shots to attack archers, and they're also throwing hooks on the wall, while thugs are bringing a ram to the gate. And the city guard is doing a horrible job trying to turn them back. And then Vin arrives, and she quickly turns things around and stops the attack. But clubs point out that Straff's men weren't putting up any scaling ladders, and that this wasn't an actual attack. It was only a test, and that they had utterly failed. And Elend notes that it's pretty much Straff saying that he can take the city anytime. And that's the chapter. Anything else from this chapter you do want to go over?
Well, it was interesting when they were making a big point out of her dressing, like how she used to dress, I probably should have seen that it was going to be a bit more of a plot point with what she thought her place was in the world and, her fears about what Elend thinks about her and stuff. I didn't think that it would be that big of a deal. I thought it was just like, she's just returning to her previous way, It's always interesting when a girl character who's kind of a tomboy does like, the pretty stuff so much. It says a lot about the character that you don't really realize.
Yeah, I really like that. I love shopping scenes, and I love that Spook got to be there. I really liked this scene for all that, and I really am starting to like Allrianne for being like kind of like a girlfriend for Vin, a girl her age too, like more around her age than like all these old men that she's surrounded by. That might be good for her if she ends up being a nice, actually good character and not a spy.
They didn't do the scene where they all try on silly hats and do a little montage like I was expecting.
Yeah, where's the montage at the mall with Spook getting in there a little bit, like, oh,
Oh, yeah. Nothing I love more than a montage sequence in a book.
Yeah, this is one chapter where I have seen some people complain about it, being like, why the hell am I getting a shopping chapter in the middle of a siege? To me, this is like one of my favorite chapters in the book, because while there's shopping in the background, it's mostly just character work.
Yeah, I deeply disagree with that. I think it was something the writer really wants to talk about, which is Vin's kind of more vulnerable side and stuff. And I always forget her name, but the woman.
Tindwyl?
Tindwyl?
Yeah, Tindwyl. Like I said, it's interesting to see how she treats different characters. Like, she sees stuff in Vin that the other people aren't seeing, and she knows how to kind of work it out of her, And it's interesting that this is all, it's not even for her. It's to help Elend be a better king. She straight up says it because she knows Vin would respond to that kind of stuff, but about he's got to have these things figured out or else he's not going to be able to focus the way he needs to and be as confident as he needs to, And so she's not going to marry him if she's not serious about him, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, she knows behind every great man is a woman who is just as great. And they have to be a strong couple together to to not have him stress about it during more stressful situations. I think that's really interesting.
I think she definitely approves of Vin, the idea of her being like a, queen type, whatever you'd want to call it, because both she brings out the smartest in Elend, but also she's the hero of
Ages.
Not the hero of ages. She's the, what do they call her?
Lady Heir?
Yeah.
Well, she's the one who killed the Lord Ruler. Killer of the Lord Ruler. That's what I'm trying to say, which gives her a mythic feeling that would only help Elend's kingdom if they're together,
Yeah, it's pretty badass to marry the girl who killed the previous king,
Mm-hmm.
I always liked that. That was really cool.
In this chapter, I just like it because it's, it's a lot of character growth or character building and story for Vin. You get a bunch of stuff with character for Tindwyl as well, like showing her being more softer with Vin. Some character stuff with Allrianne, just being like, yeah, she's more than what she appears. There's even a little bit with Spook, with him kind of being sad that, nobody cares about little old Spook.
Oh, I care, Spook. You did a good job too.
I would say also the people of the kingdom, which is something we actually don't get to see that much of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then that last scene of just Straff attacking and them just utterly failing. It's like, yeah. Not really looking the strongest before you go meet with your father.
On purpose. Because his father's a baller and he knows how to do it.
Do not call Straff a baller, Justin.
I don't know.
That's what he would love. I bet he'd love to do one of those music videos where he's flicking money and there's all these girls working behind him and stuff like that.
I don't know about that, but the sentiment behind it, maybe.
Straff's gonna make a rap music video.
I set the fashion now, and then he starts rapping.
See, yeah, exactly. He would love that. He's such a weird loser for that kind of thing. You know what? I hope the epic rap battle guys do a Straff venture versus Tywin Lannister.
Only ever
That's
do
what I
that
would
if
do.
they made a movie, Sheta. That'd be a good one,
And,
though. Yeah, too obscure, but
I'm
that'd be
gonna
a really
request
funny
that.
one.
I would figure if they did anybody from this, I figure it'd be like Vin or Kelsier, not Straff.
Yeah, but I like Sheta's pitch. They're very similar styles of characters.
So I guess if anybody listening, if you have contact information from them, contact them and tell them to do Straff venture versus Tywin Lannister.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath, though.
Which ones treat their sons worse? That's what I want to see. Who has the most hoes? Oh man, it would be such a good rap. Just do it.
All right. Well, let's just move on to chapter 26.
Oh, but I've got so many raps running through my head here, Joe. You've got to move on before I start doing them.
All right. So epigraph. He was forced into war by misunderstanding and always claimed he was no warrior. Yet he came to fight as well as any man. All right, so then chapter begins, and Vin is trying on her new dress while Orseer tells her that it is a mistake to meet with Straff. He had studied all the noblemen when he was preparing to become Lord Renew, and Straff is deceitful and harsh even for a human. Vin thinks that going into his camp and manipulating him is the only route they can take. And she also notices that the dress is made to accommodate a Mistborn. There's spots for her to hide vials and stuff. And she figures that the dressmaker likely made dresses for Mistborn in the past. Vin's last female best friend character, Shan Allrianne.
I know. I really miss Shan. Shan could have shown her how to be what she wants to be, which is, a real a high lady Mistborn. Too bad.
No comment.
Then they're outside, and getting ready to leave, and Ham is feeling uneasy about Elend going into Straff's camp. Elend says that he can do this. If there's one person he can manipulate, it's his father. And Doxson arrives with a letter from the assembly, and they are not happy with Elend missing the meeting tonight. Then Vin arrives, and Elend thinks she looks beautiful. He leans down to kiss her, but she stops him because she doesn't want him to ruin her makeup. And then later, as Elend and Vin are traveling in the carriage, Elend thinks about how everything Straff does is to show off his power. Vin says that she feels like a different person while wearing the dress, and Elend says that he feels the same while he's wearing his uniform. And then Vin kisses Elend, and she says that she can do that because Mistborn are more precise. The two of them discuss how to manipulate Straff. Vin says that Elend needs to act like he's trying to be tough. Let Straff think he is bullying Elend into doing what he wants. Elend wonders how his father, who has no military experience, can administrate the army so well. Then the two of them see obligators and realize that that is how Straff is administrating so well. He has the obligators doing it. Then they arrive, and Straff notes that Elend is an idiot, and he can have him killed at any moment. And Straff also tells Vin to stop soothing him. Elend and Vin go into a tent, and while Straff's still outside, Vin whispers to Elend that she was trying to be subtle, and Elend reminds her that Straff is a tin eye. There are Ska slaves that are being beaten down, and Straff mocks Vin for being a Ska. Elend notices that Vin has a slight smile and realizes that she purposefully let Straff notice she was soothing him so that way he would underestimate.
He is such a loser.
Straff?
Yes. To be like, oh wow, yeah, you're Ska. Huh, that sucks. Like you're like like you're teasing this like little girl.
How are you going
and
to
you're-
feel when I point out your ska like that?
Yeah. It's like, okay, yeah, I know that.
You know we don't
Yeah.
treat ska well here.
What does that remind me of? Like, like, you know, like a kid that keeps like calling it's like a Cartman joke where you be like, oh yes, but you're still ugly or something, like, you know, like, oh, it's just so petty. Huh?
When Kyle gets the best of him, he's just like, shut up, you fucking Jew, like that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
And it doesn't
We'll
really
just throw
mean
the
anything
same
anymore
insult
to
back
Kyle.
and yeah. Yep. That's exactly the kind of low bottom joke.
Elend brings up that he wants to talk about an alliance between the two of them, but Straff says that there will be no alliance. Elend tries to point out Set's army, but Straff says that Set is of little concern. Elend says that they both know that Straff will take Luthadel from him. If they ride together with Set first, then it will look like Elend called for Straff in order to take out the coming army. And Straff can have Luthadel, and Elend would be his heir again. Straff just says no. Elend is surprised because this should have worked. He then realizes that Straff, wants to know about the ATM and where it is. A woman named, a girl, more like a girl wearing a red dress named Hosel enters. She's about 15 and has a very similar look to Vin. And Straff is trying to show that he can get one exactly like Elend's, but only younger and prettier. Straff says that if Elend gives
that's the kind of move I'm talking about. You telling me that doesn't make him look cool and tough, Sheta?
No. That is a little slave girl. That is the lamest thing you could do. He cannot get one like that. Vin loves Elend and would die for him. Willingly. And she's a Mistborn. Like, this is just... It's all creepy and gross.
Yeah. It's funny to me because he's doing these power moves, It really shows he's not as cool, he's not as manipulative, and he's not as smart as he would like to make them believe he is. Because it's like, obviously, you would have to think this doesn't mean a lot to these people. They're not your normal people you're making fun of and trying to show up, Because, yes, it just sends the message you're saying of like, no, bro, you can't. You've got to have slaves to have girls like you.
It's like Malfoy. At least he didn't have to buy his way into the team. Like,
exactly.
You just get all mad, like, hey.
And Straff says that if Elend gives him the ATM, then he'll deal with Set. Elend says it will take time, but Straff doesn't believe him. And that's when Vin says that they don't have the ATM. Elend thinks that he knows he needs to act weak. Out loud, he says that Vin doesn't know where Elend is keeping the ATM. Straff says, Elend doesn't really have it. And then Straff excuses both Hosel and Vin from the room.
And Elend tells Vin it's okay, and she leaves the room.
And that's where that chapter ends. So anything else from this chapter you two want to go over?
It's interesting to have Vin say that, and then have Elend pick. It's interesting to see him picking up on what she's doing and a little bit of the other way later, because when she says that and then he says, no, she just doesn't know, it sends this message that he doesn't have control over anything and that he is really, really weak and ineffectual, like can't even control his lady bodyguard thing. I didn't know how it was going to go, but I thought they did a pretty good job of being convincing that they're
just kids
I mean,
playing
they
at
are fairly exactly, yeah, that they're just kids playing this, which would make him seem really cool and tough in his mind, Yes, exactly, Sheta.
Yeah. Because that was really genuine, because he wasn't expecting that for Vin to say that. So I thought
it
it was
also
really good how
sows doubt. It's interesting because if he just said, we have it, Straff is going to have in the back of his mind, do they even have it? Because he even asks, why didn't you use it if you have it, So now that there's this weird little bickering, you've got this seed of doubt in his mind, like, well, do they or don't they, That I think is interesting. And then he's just forced to believe what he either thinks or better what he wants to believe, which is that it is there.
I think they did a pretty good job considering.
I agree. Considering that none of it matters, but yes, I agree.
What do you mean none of it matters? Elend's winning.
No, we'll just have to keep reading and see. Yeah.
All right, so on to chapter 27. He was no simple soldier. He was a force of leadership, a man that fate itself seemed to support. Chapter begins. Straff and Elend are in the tent by themselves. Straff tells Elend that he's about to have him executed. Elend responds by saying that he needs Elend, so that way the two of them can work together against Set. Straff smiles and says that if he kills Elend, the next ruler of Luthadel will be more accommodating. He also already has a treaty with Set. All Set wants is the ATM, so the two of them will split the ATM and then work together to conquer the final empire. Then Elend asks Straff what he's going to do about the Koloss army, and this makes Straff pause. If he wants to take Luthadel before the Koloss arrive, then he needs to work with Elend. Straff says that he'll take his chances with Set. Elend points out there is no ATM, so city is useless. But Straff responds by saying that it is the Lord Ruler city, and he had made a mistake a year earlier. If Straff had never left, then he'd be the one on the throne right now. Granted, I don't think that's actually true.
No, Straff is a fucking idiot. He would have been executed. No questions. He would have been dragged out of his hovel and had his head chopped off.
I can't believe how egotistical he is, that he just thought that, of course, he would be, because he's the best, like the most powerful man. And although you're probably going to say the line next, Joe, but just even a weak venture is better than anyone. I guess that's the only reason why they picked you and stuff like that.
And remember, his thing was already falling apart too.
Oh yeah, his house was
they were having
in shambles. Yeah.
He's not that good at this. Like you can respect a villain who's like, they just play the game so well, you hate them, but you respect them a lot as a mastermind. Straff is not one of those.
Yeah.
He is such a realistic, like, noble guy.
To be fair, everything was falling apart because he lost the ATM. With the Lord Ruler dead, and he's not going to have to worry about the Lord Ruler killing him for no longer.
Well, who cares? What's his frickin' play if he doesn't have the ATM? What does he have that other people don't have?
Yep. I agree with you. He would have been. Elend only became king because he was able to stop the riots with the amazing speech that totally happened.
yeah. That wonderful, amazing speech. It was so moving.
If it was Straff,
but it was a good one.
Straff would have tried to take power, and he would have just either been killed by the rioters or killed by Vin.
Yeah.
Or hell, he might have been killed by Marsh. All right, so Straff says that he'll let Elend live, and Elend will give him the city. But Elend says that he'll do that as soon as Set is dealt with. But Straff says that this is not a negotiation. Tomorrow they'll ride to the city together, and Elend will open the gates. But Elend responds by saying that his advisors thought that Straff might use Vin against him, so they will never open the gates for Straff. Elend says that once again, they need to take down Set first, and this just sets Straff off. He says that Elend will die, and Straff will just take the city by force. But then Elend points out that Set will attack Straff from behind. Straff says that he'll take that chance, and Elend wonders why his plan isn't working. He worries as he sees murder in his father's eyes. And he says out loud that Straff never intended to let him live. And Straff confirms this by saying that Elend was dead the moment he decided to march. And then Straff thanks Elend for bringing the girl and that he will take her tonight. And then he'll see. And then he'll see if she calls his name or Elend's while he's. And then Elend cuts him off by laughing.
My favorite part.
Gosh, he is disgusting. Why would you say that to your son, too? Oh, what a freaking loser.
It's really funny to me that he has a boner for Vin, you know?
Ew.
Like, he noticed her as soon as she came in. He has, like, a weird, like... I don't know if it's just because she's hooking up with his son. She's quite young, too, of course, and we all know his proclivity, or what he's into. So it's really funny to me because I'm like, bro, she would slit her own throat before letting you fuck her, you know?
Yeah.
And he just has no concept of a person like that, which is really interesting to me.
I want him to try, because I feel like Vin will do something terrible to him.
Yeah.
Well, he could try. Vin will just kill him. He's not going to get very far.
No, not at all.
I think it's
so
gross.
It just makes Straff so fucking lame.
Yeah, the fact that it's his son's like girlfriend, like that his son likes her, it just makes her that much more enticing to him. So whoa.
I've never seen a villain like this where they're because he's not the main villain of the story or anything, but where they're sexual. Like usually villains who like have a lot of harem or slave girls, you know, there's kind of an element of like power to them maybe, or like they seem like they're very strong and powerful, you know. This guy seems like such a loser, like I've never seen from this type of villain, you know, where you're just like, no, he's not just doing it to show power. He's actually just has a lot of lust. He's just a weird, gross guy for real.
Yeah, like he's just actually into it. Like he's not trying to just be cool.
And they say earlier he likes dominating the girls, knowing they're gonna have to get killed because I couldn't control myself, which we talked about a bit before, you know. And I'm like, oh my god, what a loser!
That's just so sick to have that be a part of it for. Yeah, for the
but usually those villains are portrayed as, oh, they're so disgusting and irredeemable. For Straff, it's not that. It's he's a loser. It's not that he's disgustingly irredeemable, because they lived in a system where everyone's doing that. He's no different from anyone else, you know? He's actually lamer because he likes it so much. That's how I see him, at least.
Oh, yeah? Just how you see him?
Alright, so...
Yeah, okay, continue, Joe. I don't want to talk about Straff anymore.
So while Straff was saying that stuff, Elend cuts him off by laughing and says that Straff sounds foolish. Elend then calls out Straff for being a pig and barely competent. Straff just gets upset and has the soldiers come in, but then Elend says that if he dies, then Straff dies. Then we jump to Vin's POV, and she's outside the tent, you know, I think kind of around the corner, and she's listening in and hiding in the Elend tells Straff that he came into the camp in order to bring Vin into the heart of Straff's camp. Straff had felt Vin soothing him early, but not since then, and that he had dismissed Vin as a threat, but would any rational man do that with a Mistborn? Then Elend begins naming emotions, and Vin soothes and rides in order to bring those emotions out. And then Vin ends it all by using Duralumin and soothing away all of Straff's emotions, so that way he feels absolutely nothing.
That was cool. They put on a good show.
Elend tells Straff that Vin is more powerful than any Allomancer. If Elend dies, then Vin will kill Straff and all of his generals. Then Elend says that his army might be able to hold against Set. You know, Straff says that, and Straff just gets upset, and he says that Elend can leave. And during all this, while Elend is threatening Straff, Zane came up to Vin, and he talked to her. He tells her that Elend is using her, but she denies it. And Zane motions around in the mist, and asks if Elend could ever understand it or Vin. Does Elend love Vin, or does he love having Vin? He asks if Elend could ever understand what it means to be a Mistborn. Vin notices now that Zane has scars on his arms, and she assumes that he was in the pits of Hathsin. And Zane tells Vin that he understands her. And I would just like to point out, if people weren't aware, Zane was not in the pits of half sin. We already saw how he got the scars on his arm because he.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, right. But
Yeah,
are they in the same exact way?
Well, I don't think Vin got like a super close up look at his arms, but no,
Remember, she doesn't know that he's insane.
Yeah, I know, but I just thought the crystal marks were very specific because there was like jagged crystals. But that's kind of an assumption for her to make.
A lot of
Well,
things she does with this guy are an assumption for her to make, in my opinion.
Well, just one more thing that makes him like Kelsier.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is that she's connecting Zane with Kelsier.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of free spirit and Mistborn stuff similar to Kelsier.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, this is like classic bad boy tactics, you know? Like you then place all these things into this person who's not a good person, but you want them to be like that. You imagine they're like that. Not gonna be good.
That's what I've been trying to tell you, Sheta.
Not gonna be good for Vin, but very exciting for me to see as a reader.
I see.
But I'm just being selfish.
Selfish. Yeah, okay.
I want bad things to happen.
Hey, is Vin choosing to fall in love with somebody else? Is that really a bad thing? Still making it.
I don't know that
Yeah.
that's a choice.
Well, it is, but it's following a dark
Plus,
path that would
she's
be
not
unhealthy for our
following.
character.
She's not falling in love with Zane. She's connecting with an idea that she feels is neglected in herself that she is putting on him. That's what I see, at least. Because
Yes.
she doesn't know this guy. He's fucking insane.
A little bit, Justin.
What is God
Who's not
telling
a
him to
little-
do right now while talking with her?
He's not doing it though, so that's good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, that's better than the alternative, that's for sure.
Let me jump a little bit later, and we're in Straff's head. Straff is watching the carriage leave, and he doesn't understand how this happened. The information from Zane's Condra spy was correct, and Straff knew that Elend would act weak. And Zane came up to Straff, and Straff asked if there were multiple Mistborn, but Zane says that it was only Vin, and that she is that powerful. Straff says that he now wants Zane to kill her. They now know that there is no ATM, but Straff says if he is sure. But Zane asks if he is sure, and after some thinking about it, Straff says no. Straff almost gives the order to attack the city in the morning, but stops because he worries about Vin's power. He can't attack Luthadel as long as she is in the city. Zane says that he'll need help take out Vin, a strike team of Allomancers. Straff has access to a bunch of mistings because of all of his mistresses.
Oh, God.
He tells
He's
Zane
terrible. Sorry, go ahead.
He tells Zane to get rid of her and do anything he needs. Straff returns to his tent and calls for Hosel. She looks enough like Elend's girl and will do him good to remind himself that most of the time he was really in control.
Oh, no. Oh, God, no.
What a loser! He's all shaking and stuff, and then he's gonna be like, I need to be like, I bet he's the type to look in the mirror and be like, I'm the man, stuff like that. I'm in control.
Just think,
and feel
he's
like,
not going to treat her good tonight.
No, don't say that. I don't want to think about it.
He's not. The whole point he wants is to be in control. This is going to be a dark time. I will be surprised if she is. I will be surprised if she is alive the next time we cut back, Sheta.
No, of course she's not.
Not necessarily, but
You know what? I don't think he would kill her. I think he would maybe need her again. Until Vin is dead, I think he's gonna want to keep her around. That is just the saddest thing. I hope Vin rescues this poor girl, and then I hope she gets to watch as Vin like kills Straff in a terrible way.
Straff is gonna win, so don't even talk like that.
I hope she puts a coin through him and then pulls it through his body.
That's the worst you can think of, you sweet innocent thing.
I'm not saying where she's gonna put it through first.
All right, so now we're back to Elend's mind. And, it's in the carriage with Vin, and Elend is ecstatic as he rides back to Luthadel. But Vin doesn't seem as pleased. And Elend says that it's because of her, and he praises her abilities as an Allomancer. But his words seem to make her huddle more into the corner. Then they arrive in the city, and the crew greets him. Elend tells them that they overlooked their greatest resource, a weapon like nothing they could match. He tells them that he threatened Straff, and Vin would kill everyone.
Why did he have to use the word weapon? That was her biggest fear. I was so sad. Like, don't call her a weapon. I know you're excited, but that's ugh.
Well, he doesn't know that Zane's been trying to manipulate her.
Yeah, but that's your
Honestly,
girlfriend.
I don't even know that I'd
Like,
call that manipulating. Because
You're
that's
right,
how
you're right.
Zane sees the world for real. He's not lying to her at all.
You're right. Ellen doesn't. You're right. I'll reword it. Ellen doesn't know that Zane's trying to court Vin.
There you go. I don't even know if I think he's trying to court. I don't think Zane even knows what he's trying to do, honestly.
Zane wants her because he just feels like they belong together because they are both Mistborn.
But he also wants somebody to free him from his father. And she killed the Lord Ruler. I think that goes a long way.
And Ellen notices that something was troubling Vin, and Ellen figures that she had seen a better way to manipulate Straff, and she's upset that Ellen didn't do that way. And Ellen thinks that this whole thing with Straff should give the Assembly a morality boost. And they all get into carriages, and Dox gets into Ellen's carriage with him. And Ellen finds it strange because Doxing usually always got into a different carriage.
I thought this was going to go way different when Dox got in the carriage.
Yeah, it's like, Dox, what are you doing?
And then he just turns into a freaking thing and eats him. That's what I expected.
I still don't trust Dox.
Not that I trust him, it's that I thought this was going to go very differently.
Yeah.
And I wonder if he knew that, the writer.
Mm-hmm.
After the carriage starts moving, Doxing gives a letter to Ellen that he had just gotten from the Assembly. And then I'll read the letter. So the letter says, Your Majesty, this note is to inform you that by unanimous vote, the Assembly has decided to invoke the Charter's no confidence clause. We appreciate your efforts on behalf of the city, but the current situation calls for a different kind of leadership than Your Majesty can provide. We take this step with no hostility, but only resignation. We see no other alternative, and must act for the good of Luthadel. And the letter is signed by all 32 members of the Assembly. That's what the letter says.
Vote of
Ellen
no
responds.
confidence. I just kept thinking of that scene. Sorry.
No confidence in Chancellor Valorum, Sheta?
Mm-hmm.
Then Ham asks what the letter says, and Ellen responds that he has been deposed. And that's the end of part 2. So, everything looking up for Elend and the crew.
Well, they set it up earlier. They're annoyed you're not coming to the meeting. That's always a setup for something like this happening.
I can't believe that he didn't talk to them. Like, I would be pretty annoyed if you're doing such a big move, like making contact with the leader of the enemy and stuff, and it was like, we really need to talk to you, and it's just like, yeah, after I get back. And I was like, no, like, why do you think you'll even get back?
Well, they'd already voted for him to have the right to do that earlier.
Yeah, but it's a really big deal.
And yeah, we've had multiple chapters where it's like, the Assembly's meeting. Are you gonna? Nah, I'll check with them later.
So that's how we knew it was going to be a big deal. I think I said that earlier.
And you also had the fact where, also, even after this meeting, Ellen was going to go back to them and say, no, that didn't count as the parlay. That was just an informal talk. And that was his plan.
That was not a good plan.
I don't know why he assumes all these things are okay. Like, it shows
Because he
how
thinks
childish
people will
he is.
act reasonable.
Also, he's the one that wrote the law. I think in that one, I also like the one line in there where it's like, Breeze was like, wait, so you went into Straff's camp and you decided to threaten him? Yeah? Brilliant!
Was that sarcastic, I wonder?
From Breeze? No, that sounds like something Breeze would love. Keep in mind, this is Kelsier's crew.
The other thing is, it was the correct play, because if you can threaten him, if you can legit scare him, then that's a much better thing to have than to just try to trick him, They just couldn't know that until they got there and then saw how he was being and stuff.
Well, the original plan, what I think was also the correct play too, because even Straff thinks that he would have fallen for that and gone with it if he wasn't warned by Zane's Kandra.
But it's the wrong play because they made it too easy for Zane's Kandra to know.
Yeah, that would have helped if they didn't say all their plans in front of everyone.
That is true.
All right. Anything else in this chapter you want to go over?
I just really enjoyed getting to see some good old Straff. Every time I see him, he's even better than the last time.
I can't believe that he thinks he's so smart. Like, He's like, oh yes, I really like having ska mistresses, and a bonus, I'll have a bunch of bastard Alamancer people and stuff, so that, like, then they'll have to be loyal to me because they're my kids and stuff. Like, he thinks he's got a whole thing set up for himself. I want to see this team though of super powered kids. I would like to see.
You're not going to see much of them. They're going to be cannon fodder for sure.
That's too sad.
Oh.
I want Elend to know. I want Vin to find out those are all Elend's siblings. Like, and then have them follow her and become her like Teen Titans and stuff
Here's
like
the
that.
thing. I feel like they're going to be fucked up if they even have like brains, you know? I'm
Why
going to
would they
guess
have
that
brains?
like some kind of fucked up thing where they're like they're not right. I don't think they're going to be like people, you know?
But
I
just
think it's
because
going to
they're
be something
ska,
disgusting.
you're so
What? No. It's going to be like those experiments that were being done in that one little book, you know?
Also,
Like something to
most
make
of
them controllable.
I think most of them, if not all of them, are actually not ska. Because it said before that like Straff, he would have a lot of like lower nobles as mistresses. And stuff.
Oh.
Keep in mind, if he was ever found to be having a mistress that's a ska and they had a kid, he would have been executed. And I feel like he's the one that would not put any sort of risk of being executed.
Yes,
I
he's
see,
very
I see.
important, Sheta. He deserves to live.
So he just went with the lower nobles and made them his mistresses to give his children. Because then, even if that was found out, he wouldn't be executed for it.
See, he's covered all his bases, huh? So smart, that Straff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a good guy, Sheta. You gotta stop being so
really
judgmental on him
enjoy-
just because he's a deplorable monster.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this build up of such a like annoying villain to be entertaining. Like,
I always love a villain like that because you just know.
ooh, it's gonna be
Something
very
good's coming.
satisfying when they finally
Or
get there.
they're setting
and
him
stuff
up
like
to
that.
be the most hated villain of all time by having him win at the end of this book. You know?
Yeah, I love hating characters as much as I love loving them. So.
What? Yeah, but what about Set? Set's army's out there too.
Have we even seen Set?
You've
No,
seen his
I don't think
daughter.
we have. Yeah. So we don't know anything about the man. So
All right, let's move on to our predictions and theories segment. I guess I'll ask you what this thumping is that Vin has been hearing that nobody else is able to sense.
It's the deepness rising from the mountain or the well.
it's the
That's what I
Jumanji
think.
game coming closer. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
or Joy Boy.
Drums of liberation.
Drums of Liberation, yep.
Yeah.
Vin's just gonna go like all her clothes are gonna be white.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers, Joe.
It would only be spoilers if people knew what we were talking about. If you don't know what
That
you're
is
talking
true.
about, because we never said what series.
Okay, don't look up any of the words that we have said.
We're talking about Animorphs.
Yes, add Animorphs to that search, and you will not get the answer. I'm gonna say, I wonder if there's going to be any kind of extra relationship with Sazed and Tindwyl, like a romantic one.
I don't think so. Isn't she a bit older too?
Sazed's old too.
Yeah, they both
Sazed
are.
is not that. How old is Sazed?
Like 40 or something like that.
Their relationship reminds me a lot of Hagrid and Madame Maxime in Harry Potter. I'm just like, why don't you guys date? You're like the same.
Because they're both eunuchs.
They're both
That takes
Terracemen.
one element of dating out of. I don't know. Did they explain how they do the women one? So they can't reproduce?
I thought it was just all Terracemen were eunuchs, and that was it.
Yeah, but you do it differently in a lady.
Well, they have breeding programs, so they turn all the men to eunuchs, and then only certain women are allowed to sleep with the men who are not eunuchs.
Yeah, but do they not do something to stop that from happening the same way?
Well, if if you only have, like, say, 30 men that have penises, and they're in a controlled area, they can't have sex
Yeah, I
with the
know.
men without penis.
It's just like a
But still.
chicken coop. But what about
I
them
don't-
getting pregnant from other men, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do they not? I don't know what it is. I know you can do something though for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think it ever says anything about, doing anything with women. I think it's all we hear about are men are eunuchs.
I think it would be wasteful to. I don't think bad of me for using this word, but spade the women because then
To
you
spade
would
them?
like,
Oh my god, shit.
yeah, it would be a waste because then you could be losing out on potential like breeding. You know what I mean?
Sheta
This is how
approves
it-
eugenics. You heard it here.
Stop! I'm just talking within the book because in like post-apocalyptic things, like women are really valuable because they can have babies and stuff. So you keep them so you can have a lot. You can repopulate the world with them. So it would be a waste to spade them. Okay.
Spade and neuter your terrace is what Sheta's trying to say.
No.
All right. All right. So next question, with Allrianne. So, is she trying to spy on them? And if so, like, what's she trying to learn? Who's she spying for? All that jazz.
I personally don't believe she's spying. I think she's relatively genuine. I think she's going to have a moment where she's going to have to choose between loyalties to her father and another life where she doesn't have to be like a bad person. And I think she'll have information that could be valuable to him. But I personally don't think she's a spy. Because if she is, she's a really bad one. Also, it would be pretty crazy to send your own daughter in as a spy like that.
Yeah. Have we seen anything with Vin saying or noticing if Allrianne has allomancy powers? Like,
No. Vin hasn't said anything about allomancy for Allrianne.
because it would be cool if
I don't know if
Allrianne,
she checked.
if she turned out to be a Mistborn too, that would be pretty cool. But I feel like Breeze might have been able to know that. But Mistborn are very mysteriously kept, so
I personally
it
doubt
could be
it.
a
If she's a
secret.
Mistborn, she's going to be totally fake. You know what I mean? In my opinion.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Well, what about
It's
just
hard
a
to say.
Mistine? Do you think she's a Mistine?
I think
could
that
be.
could be. If it is, it's a
Yeah.
smaller one, though. That's pretty useless.
Which power?
What
like
did
a smoker or something.
what did Marsh have before he became an Inquisitor?
It was a seeker.
Seeker. I think it will be something like that. A more passive power. Maybe she's a soother who uses her powers to make people think less of her. Or, like,
No, I think
underestimate
Breeze
her.
would pick up on that immediately.
Maybe she's
Plus, I
soothing
don't think she
Breeze.
needs to use her powers to do that, you know?
No. I think she's genuine. I think she will just end up being a nice presence in the gang. Like I said, Vin's kind of new bestie.
I think
her
the reason
age.
I think she's here to give us another person of the nobility to kind of see as human and not just think they're all evil. I also think she's here to humanize Breeze more so we'll feel sadder for him when he inevitably, in this very book,
You know what?
gets what happens to
What?
characters in stories that can be dark.
So
What?
you're
I
killing
don't
off
think
Breeze
Breeze
in
is
this
making
book?
it, Sheta. I don't think he's making it. The second she showed up, I didn't think he was going to make it.
Why you have to think like that?
That's
So
just what I think.
So, Justin, are you still on the Ham will die train, or did the Ham go over to Breeze?
Well, Ham is not doing as much in this book, so I don't think he'll die in this book.
Because he's the Khandra.
No, I don't think so. I think that if they spent all this time saying that the Khandra can't use things... Well, actually, I forgot about your theory last time that the Khandra's smart and is doing something to appear that they do.
Because
So
that's
maybe,
a
we'll
really
see.
stupid, easy way. And they know Vin is a Mistborn. Like, it would be very, very simple to figure that out,
I don't
think
know
a
that I'm totally
long-term
convinced about
professional
that.
Khandra would figure out a way to trick people, making it appear like that. It's Ham.
Yeah, I don't think so. Well, I don't know. I just don't think so.
All right, we'll see.
All right.
Could be wrong.
All right. Next question. So, if if Straff did sleep with Vin, would she have shouted Straff's name or Elend's
Oh my
name?
god. Fuck you, Joe. Don't that's the question.
Yeah, I'm
No.
gonna
Now-
go with neither, and Straff is really stupid
I
for
will
even thinking
not.
that's
No,
that Straff
I'm-
is stupid for thinking that he is such a good lover that a woman would shout his name if they weren't required to under fear of execution. He honestly probably thinks he's the greatest lover in the world.
I
And
doubt
I'm gonna
any
guess
woman
he's a two-pump chump.
Yep. Yeah, that's why his slave's like, yeah, whatever. I'll be over in less than a minute. You know.
They're not like, yeah, whatever.
No, that one lady was so bored when she came in. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, you have your fun.
No,
I'm
she's
just
not
gonna-"
bored. She's broken, you know? Think about what these people have gone through in their past where now they're
Nope,
just
in
like,
my head-
whatever.
They don't even take him seriously because he's not as bad as
Oh,
not as cool as he thinks he is.
that makes him much worse.
No, I'm not answering that question.
Yeah, I expected just to cut it, but then Justin gave a long answer for it, so I might have to keep it. I only said it just to get a rise out of Sheta.
I have a lot of thoughts on this subject.
All right. Next question. What are things going to turn out with Elend being deposed?
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, I think he's gonna win him back by doing something very kingly that will finally make him deserve the position.
Yeah, they'll say that.
Because narratively, he hasn't earned the position, you know what I mean? So that's my
Yeah.
theory.
That's what Tindwyl says. I think that they will be attacked, and then they're gonna be like, "Shit, we don't want to not have a king right now. That's worse." So then they'll just let him.
Oh, I don't think it'll be that.
Deuce. No.
Not just attacked,
that's-
because anyone could be general. You know, you could say somebody else would be better for that. You know, it's got to be something where he does the king instead of doing like the good diplomat politician thing. It would be something more kingly and more like a little more totalitarian, something he'd be uncomfortable with, you know, but something you kind of have to do if you're in a monarchy like that and you want to, you know, be the best ruler for your people, contrary to their own desires and thoughts, you know. I think democracy is very good and noble, but when you're in a situation like this, it can be very dangerous too.
All right, and then last question, since we are done with part 2, who is the secret Khandra?
I'm at the point where I just don't think it would be exciting enough if it was Dachshund, you know? So I don't really know anymore. Sheta, you have your theory, of course, you said.
Yes, my theory is that it's Ham. Because that. Yeah, I feel like no one really stands out to be him. Because let's see, Clubs is giving too much wise advice. Dachshund would be too obvious and boring. He's the only non-powered person. Yeah, everyone seems normal. And it's just that Ham has been like, you even noticed it, doing less. He was very loud before. You know?
Well, what about, I forget his name, their general guy who found it in the first place. Couldn't he hear enough to get this information?
Captain
Demu?
Demu?
Yeah, Demu.
Demu would be so boring, too. I mean, we get
You
all
wouldn't
these,
see
like,
that coming.
Demu reacts to this very specific thing, like seeing Elend in his king outfit for the first time.
I'm
like...
saying they've been showing a lot more Demu than I ever thought we'd get, so.
That would
Currently,
be
that's on
very-
my mind, is all I'm
That
saying.
wouldn't be very interesting, in my opinion. If
What
it was
what
just
about
Demu.
what about Spook? That used to be your theory, Sheta.
I'm happy to say that I don't think it's going to be Spook, because I think that would just be...
Well, she felt his allomancy, you know.
I'm not trusting that anymore. Like he
But
also
with Ham, she only saw his allomancy, right? You know.
she felt it too.
Did
She
she?
used her special power to feel it.
If you say so.
I think so. Spook is just doing too many specific spookish things, and I don't know. I wish that we got more information. I was hoping we would just find out in this part.
And then any other theories or predictions that either of you want to throw out there?
Well, tell me something. The last few chapters, all the opening things have been like, he didn't want this, but he had to do this, you know, stuff like that, right? But maybe don't answer this, Joe, but should answer me, like, they were using specific names before, weren't they? and stuff. Like, much more
Yeah.
specific. These seem to have gotten a lot more vague and a lot more, like, I don't know, like prophetic sounding even, you know?
Yep. They have been a little more vague. They have been more vague and more like general. Like kind
Yeah.
of just something like he was like this, but they loved him.
Yeah,
And,
instead
like,
of like
now,
specific names. It's getting me
like, oh,
wondering if we're talking about the same person. And my question is that something that started in part 2 specifically, or was that just the last few chapters, you know? That's my question.
That was the last few, because it's all like
Just the
sitting in
last
like
few chapters?
yeah,
Okay.
it's all the same one
That's
big
all.
note. There have been other ones like earlier, like
No, that's all I'm asking. You've answered the
okay.
question then. Yeah. Because it was getting me wondering if that was just a part 2 thing, or if that was, you know,
oh, yeah, no,
if that
I
was
think so.
something weird where they just, because they could easily pull the veil over us and just start talking about somebody else and we wouldn't know.
Because I will let you know, like if you went back a few before it went to all these short ones, the last one, was pretty much him saying that, I knew the prophecies, and he seemed to fit the signs so well. And then after
Yeah, I
that, you
dig
start
it.
getting all these things.
I see. Still, then I don't have any theories from this section.
Yeah.
Everything's been mostly straightforward plot stuff.
All right.
I still do think that the deepness is going to sweep in and destroy both human armies and empower the Koloss army somehow. Or turn both armies into Koloss, maybe, right?
So then
Turn him into Koloss?
So then Vin and them are going to have to deal with 120,000 Koloss.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
Well, we still got a third book, you know? If this is anything like trilogies usually go, this book's not going to end very well for anyone involved. Like, usually the second part of a trilogy that's planned as a trilogy doesn't end with, well, everything's going to be A-okay, the end.
You said that about the last book, too. Like, it was all going
Yeah, but that was
end
just my
badly.
personal theory. For this one, I feel much more confident about that.
Alrighty now, we will move on to it's for the characters and quotes of the week. So let's start with the character of the week. Go.
My character of the week is easy. That would be Straff Venture for sure.
Woo!
I found him boundlessly entertaining in this chapter. I have never seen somebody suck so much as I have with Straff Venture, and yet also be an antagonist who is still threatening, you know, because he does have a lot of power at his disposal.
So, favorite character. I've never seen somebody suck so much. Favorite character.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the way he sucked. I was really, really captivated by it. Everything he did just made him lamer and more annoying.
I feel like Brian Sanderson makes it a challenge for himself. I almost feel like to be
Brian
like,
Sanderson,
you know what?
Brandon Sanderson's cousin. Yeah, Sheta.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe some of his friends call him Brian. I've heard that before.
I mean, you never know. So I can't
I
say
am one
you're
of those
wrong
friends,
by that
so,
logic.
yeah.
Why would they call him Brian? Well, that's a new thing for anybody who goes to a con. Don't ask him questions about the different magic systems or characters or stuff that you want to know to expand the world. Just ask him, do any of your friends call you Brian?
This one random podcast claimed that maybe you do.
I mean, your closest friends might call you Brian.
You never know.
All right, Sheta, your character.
My favorite character would be Tindwyl, because I feel like we learn a lot about her in here, and then like also about how she is very helpful to our characters and stuff like that. I just really liked a lot of the sassy things and the insightful things that she said in these chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's good.
If it wasn't for Straff, I probably would have picked her, Sheta.
Yeah, well, she's a real character, a real good character.
All right, for me, I'll go with Vin. I do feel like during the shopping scene, she opened up a little bit with Tindwyl about why she, can't be with Elend, and also broke down some of her own issues she's been having and by getting the dress. And then when she was in Straff's camp, just messing with his emotions and making them go down to zero and completely just fucking him up, that was pretty damn cool.
That was cool.
All right, so then let's go to quotes.
My quote is Sazed talking with Tindwyl when Sazed says that Elend Venture is a very good man. Tindwyl responds, good men can make terrible kings, but bad men cannot make good kings. It is better to start with a good man and work on the rest, I think. I thought that was an interesting little comparison of their thought processes, and I think that's probably true.
I like that too.
Yeah.
I like people talking about Elend like that. I never thought he would be a good king. I was very surprised in this book.
Wait, what are you surprised by? That he's a good king or a bad king?
That he was king. Like, they just starts the chapter as like, yep, Elend's king. And I was like, Elend? He sucks. Like, he's he can't. Why is he king? So I was very. I think this whole book so far, talking about him being the best we've got, I've warmed up to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my favorite quote is, it's kind of a whole part, but it's with Vin talking to Elend about feeling uncomfortable with her dress and stuff, and Elend responds, I don't know. I think changing into my new clothes made me feel different. So what you say makes sense. If wearing a dresses feels wrong to you, then you don't have to wear them. I want you to be happy, Vin. When I wear a dress, they expect a lady, and they're disappointed when they find me instead. Ellen goes, I like the way you are. Tindwyl says I can be both a woman and Mistborn. Tindwyl is wise. A bit brutal, but wise. You should listen to her. You just told me you like the way I am. And it's a back and forth like that, but the part I like is Ellen replying, clothing doesn't really change a man, but it changes how others react to him. Tindwyl's words. I think the trick is convincing yourself that you deserve the reactions you get. You can wear the court's dresses, Vin, but make them your own. Don't worry that you aren't giving the people what they want. Give them who you are and let that be enough. And then he pauses and says, it was enough for me. So I really liked this part because it was a little bit, it made me kind of see their relationship a little bit, because they both had that kind of thing with clothes and with identity stuff, and I just like that quote. I think it's funny that quote that I liked was actually Tindwyl saying it to Elend, but I still like it. That it kind of talks back to when Vin first starts wearing the clothes, like of the noble ladies, like the dresses, and she starts feeling like, oh, they just see the clothes, I can just pretend, like hide behind them and stuff. But now she's thinking a little bit about it and feeling like identity crisis with them.
That's a good comparison to back then.
Mm-hmm. And then Ellen getting his makeover about him being like, hey, people do see me like a king now, you know? So I like the whole thing with the fashion and the feeling like you have to feel like you are as cool as you look, you know? That's all. I think that's a lot to do with fashion. Since I like cosplay and fashion stuff, I really like that quote.
All right. I will go on to my quote. And mine is from Tindwyl talking to Vin while they're shopping. All people are more complex than they first appear. Allrianne, for instance, is eager and young, perhaps a bit too outspoken, but she knows more of the court than many would expect, and she seems to know how to recognize what is good in a person. That is a talent many lack. Your king is a humble scholar and thinker, but he has the will of a warrior. He is a man who has the nerve to fight, and I think you perhaps have yet to see the best of him. The soother Breeze is a cynical, mocking man until he looks at young Allrianne. Then he softens, and one wonders how much of his harsh unconcern is an act. Tindwyl looked at Vin appraisingly. And you are much more than you are willing to accept, child. Why focus on only one side of yourself when your Ellen sees so much more? Is that what this is all about? Vin said. You trying to turn me into a queen for Elend? No, child, Tindwyl said. I wish to help you turn into whoever you are. I just enjoy that whole thing. Pretty much just going through all the characters and just explaining how they are more than what they appear. And all the examples are pretty much right on.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if it was written that way.
I wonder if that part and the parts I was talking about were because we talked a little bit about how Brandon Sanderson writes, and then he goes back to find themes within his story. I wonder if these things are things he edited to reinforce the themes.
Well, like people come off versus how they are inside. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like how they appear, because they are really solid.
Yeah, I think this book has a lot to do with like, finding like your identity and becoming like who you'd need to be and that sort of stuff. Like the first book is a lot about, trust and like that.
hmm
All right.
What was it? A sixth grade book report only has themes.
8th grade. I
Eighth
believe
grade.
they
God.
said 8th grade themes are for 8th grade book reports.
I see. A little
That's
more
why
advanced in sixth grade.
that's why they tried not to do anything for the Game of Thrones show.
Or
Because
does that
that's one
mean
thing you
that?
know.
Yeah.
If you read A Song of Ice and Fire, George is not trying to put any sort of themes in those stories.
If they say that, does it mean that they're saying their writing style is below 8th grade? Is that what they're saying now, inadvertently?
Yeah.
I think it's more that they're saying that they move beyond that.
Yeah,
It's
they
like,
maybe think they're saying that, but I think what they're actually saying is they write their shows at a 7th grade level.
Yeah.
well,
'Cause,
when they went out of their way to try to put in so many sex scenes in there unnecessarily, I kind of agree.
Yeah,
I know
what
that
age
that's
is what book report age is gratuitous sex scenes for?
it's for high school dropouts.
it's like
I guess, yeah.
I know that's what helped sell the show right at first. I remember always hearing people say, "Yeah, there's a lot of sex," but going back and watching, it's like, you have the sex scene here just to have these two characters talk about some world building stuff. The sex scene was not necessary for this world building
Well,
stuff.
yeah, a lot of the sex stuff in the early stuff it was fine. It was
They're real
it actually
scenes.
mattered for
Yeah.
the plot. It told you something about characters, or it was just for fun. When they're just putting it in for no fucking reason at all, except, I don't know, they think somebody can't masturbate to it or something. It doesn't really make any sense.
It's just for attention.
Yeah, I guess. I think it just
Or
means they have no
Like
idea
any
why their
desperate
thing was
person.
successful. Yeah.
well, I've always said that Benioff and Weiss, all they wanted to do was adapt the Red Wedding. That's all. They had to do, two other books before that just to adapt the Red Wedding. And then once they had that adapted, then they were stuck with this show.
Why would you have that be your goal? Like a one part.
Because you're a loser 7th grade writer, shit.
Because they didn't understand the Red Wedding. They just thought it was this big shocking moment. They didn't know they didn't understand like what it did for the story and all the buildup there actually was. Since they removed all buildup from the show, that way it'd just be more shocking.
That sounds like a seventh grader. Like
No, that sounds like a 9th grader who thinks they're smarter than what their teacher learned before they get older and realize they're a dumbass.
Or a comic written by Profanity Beaver.
What did I do?
what? That's what?
I'm at least at a 10th grade level, I'll have you know.
Yeah, there's themes in there.
Hey, I read some of those comics, and you wrote them before 9th grade.
Oh, fuck, you're right. I guess I'm a hack.
All right, then before we go on to next week's chapters, I just have another comment I can bring up. So this one was put onto, connected to the Well of Ascension Chapters 6 through 11, episode that we did. All right. This one's from Alcade946. All right, so the comment is, wasing the liking of Lester Bornis, watching the win of the readers coming in weeks, enjoying the telling and guessing of Cosmere Chronicles.
That is a good
Wow,
one.
that was really good. I love it. Was that
That's funny.
Spook?
Yep, Spook commented for real.
Yeah, that was
I have
great.
to
I
say,
love it.
once those words started coming out of your mouth, Joe, it took me a couple seconds to register what the fuck I was listening to. So I felt like what Breeze probably usually feels like listening to Spook.
So then let's go look at next week's chapters. So next week we will be going with, looks like 6 chapters. Chapters 28 through 33.
Yes.
Yep, and we are getting close to the halfway point of this book.
Wow, already? It's going by so fast.
Oh yeah, you can't see it, Sheta. I always forget.
Yep, so that's what we're going with next week. So now we will end off today's episode by going into plugs. So Justin usually does it first, so this time we'll go over to Sheta first.
Yay!
No, but everyone will leave after that. No!
Everyone, if you've been listening, they should know the plugs already.
Everyone listens to one plug and then they leave. That's podcast law.
That's
So
true.
then they don't get to
make
hear
it.
awkward goodbyes at the end.
I guarantee probably one person hears that ever. If
We
even.
had a fan say that was their favorite part of the podcast. Is the plugs
What,
and the.
Yeah, that was
Did
my
that-
sister.
Don't say who it was, Joe. We just know it was a fan. Okay, so I have a art Instagram at Sheta_low with illustrations, paintings, and such. And then I have a cosplay fashion page. It's at Mermaid Machete. And I'm really excited because it's Renaissance Fair season, and I will be posting my outfit for that.
I will not be posting outfits, and I do not have a cosplay page. So if you don't want to see cosplay, you can go to @ProfanityBeaver on most social media platforms.
All right. Yeah, and if you want to see some of his art nude, go and join his Patreon.
Yes, do it. You sick, disgusting perverts.
All right.
Yeah,
And then for Cosmere Chronicle stuff, you can, if you're wherever you decide to listen to this, if they have the ability to give us a rating or a review, go ahead and do that. It will probably help us. If they have a way for you to leave a comment, go ahead and leave a comment. If it's one that I know how to find, I will read it. If you don't have a way to leave a comment, but you still want to contact us, you can always send us an email. CosmereChronicles@gmail.com. Or if you want to use Key, a most ancient letter, formerly known as Twitter, you can also send us a message on there. I don't know if anybody actually uses that website anymore, but it still exists. We're CosmereChron. COSMERE.
It sure does seem that way sometimes.
Yep, so those are all ways to contact. So we will move on and say goodbye to all of you. And we will see you next week. So until then, everyone, go out, have fun, maybe chug a beer if you're into that sort.
But
You have to
only
chug
if you're
it, no
of legal
sips.
age. Yeah, no pussy ass sips here.
One lip sip. That's it.
If you are a person who does not drink alcohol, then just chug like a Pepsi or Diet Pepsi.
Gallon of milk, whatever you're feeling.
Yeah, just chug something in our honor.
Mm-hmm. And bring
Arnold
all
Palmer.
lawsuits to Joe.
Yep.
For anything you chug that was a bit too much for you to handle.
Yeah.
Don't chug too much.
That's the disclaimer, but it's not going to protect him. I'll make sure of it. Don't worry.
All right, everyone. Yeah, go out. Goodbye.
Scooby-Doo.
Ooh, where are you? Bye, have fun, and see you next time. Bye-bye.